What's up, guys? Back for another Honkai Star Rail video, and we have the new Awoo firm event, right? Very interesting looking creatures in front of us, I will say. Some of them remind me of like Monster Hunter color palettes, I will say. But we are not here to talk about the event. We're here to talk about the 4-star ticket. Now, it's been a minute, I feel like, since we got one of these. And of course, as always, there's only 4 characters on it. I really do wish that we had a bigger selection, but you know, free is free, right? Unless you have them all maxed, then it's just like a free single, which that's what it will be for me on the main. But on the alt, I can actually use this, right? Now, the characters this time around are Qingque, Pela, Serval, and Asta. And unlike the last one, where I think it was like, I think Gallagher, or don't pick anyone else really, or maybe it was Pela. I can't really remember. This one's actually not too bad, right? Now, one thing to note is Asta, Serval, and Qingque are free. So if you don't have Pela, you grab Pela. That's pretty easy. But let's look into what the characters do and their dupes and if you should get them. Now, the reason I say this one is actually a pretty, I wouldn't say hard choice, but there actually is a decision here. Qingque is kind of the worst of the grouping, right? She is a DPS that was out on day one and is a 4-star. Do I need to say more? Really, right? Um, she is the best 4-star DPS, I think. Probably. I don't know the calcs. I don't really use it anymore. I really just use like Moe's and March, which are way better than her. But bias aside on Qingque, she has a bit of RNG to her kit. She wants Sparkle. I don't even know if I think Sunday also helps her, if I'm not mistaken. But let's just cross her off. Not even in the agenda. The real 3 powerhouses are going to be Pela, Serval, and Asta. Now, in my opinion, the weakest of those 3 is going to be Asta, right? Let's pull her up real quick. Asta's whole gimmick is when she uses her skill, she gets a bunch of stacks underneath. You know, it's like the Ruan Mei Tribi. There's a bunch of dots, and that indicates how many like turns or stacks you have. Once you get max stats, you get a bunch of attacks. Well, you have attack throughout it, right? Uh, Allies attack increases by 7% up to 5 times. Use her skill to gain stacks. Her ultimate increases the speed of all allies. At level 1, it's 36. Let me go. Oh, I don't have her belt on this one. It's more when you max out, right? Increases speed, and then if you have DDD, which most of the time you are running DDD on Asta, you get an action advance. That's pretty much how you run her. She's pretty much used as a speed buff for Dot and Break characters. If you don't have Ruin Mei, she's not an excellent replacement, but she does somewhat work, right? Her Eidolons, the first one is an extra hit, so an extra stack. Her ultimate will make it to where you don't reduce your stacks. That's very good. E4 gives her energy regen, and then E6 reduces how many stacks you lose. Overall, pretty good dupes. Obviously, if you're on dupe 3 and 5, it's not really going to do too much for you in terms of actually getting new abilities, but also has some pretty solid dupes for the reasons you are using her, right? Now, if you don't run Break or you don't run Dot, she loses a bit of value, and really she's really just a character that you use to action advance characters forward. But at that point, you know, you might as well just run someone else who's actually buffing the team. Now, speaking of actually buffing the team, Serval is not doing any of that technically, right? I think the real toss-up between these two is Pela and Serval. However, Pela definitely has more teams. Pela is a good general debuffer. Pela will remove the buff on her skill, right? And with her talent, if the enemy's debuff after Pela's attack, she'll get more energy, so you can funnel the ult, which has a 100% base chance to inflict expose, which lowers their defense for 2 turns, right? Pela has a super small ult cost, so you can get her ult super quickly, right? So pairing it with something like the Eagle set to action advancer, she gets a lot of actions and can help out someone like Acheron pretty well. She works with Acheron, works with Star's Ratio because he also wants debuffs, and works as a general debuffer to just increase the team's damage. She is probably the she's the best aging unit. I don't want to say that because I'd have to look at the characters again. She is one of the best aging units, right? Now, unfortunately, she is getting replaced by a certain pink fox guy that came out. But until then, she was like de facto like number one at what she does, right? Black Swan had to get E1 to beat her. And Silver Wolf was only single target for defense lowering. So Pela kind of was the queen of defense lowering for the longest time, and she's still a very incredible unit. I still use her to this day. Very solid options. Her dupes aren't too crazy. E1, when enemies defeated, you get 5 energy, will help with you spamming your ult. E2, when you dispel debuffs, you get speed, pretty situational. E4, you have a chance to inflict ice res, which is helpful for Jinglu teams, which I know a lot of people don't use it anymore, and Herda teams. Heck, that is what I'm going to be doing on my free-to-play account with Herda to get the ice res. And then her last one is you just deal more damage. Really, the best dupe is going to be the E1 for the extra energy, which is pretty nice because, you know, unfortunately, this is the unit you probably don't have on your account. So at least if you're getting her for the first time, you only have to pull her one other time, and then you're good to go. She's been available on other tickets if you grabbed her then, but those were quite a while ago. E4 is, like I said, situational, but it's also very, very good. So I say E1 and E4 are the best ones. E1 is the most general use for Pela. Then we have Serval, who is a DPS, but we don't use her for that. She's really just for the Herda, right? Now, if you don't have Herda, then your options are pretty much Pela. And if you don't have her maxed, I guess Asta, right? Most of the time, people are just going to get the one that gives them a free single at this point, realistically, right? Because all these characters, besides Serval, really have a better replacement. Qingque, you just use any other DPS. Asta, you use your own Mei. Pela, Jiaoqiu, or if you don't have them, then you just use Pela. And then Serval, which is going to be, I believe, the best the Herda partner. I don't remember the calcs. I don't think Herda beats her out except for like pure fiction stuff, right? That is because Serval has a rather low ult cost. You run this with passkey that gives you more energy, and you spam her ultimate over and over with the Windset and Lukasha, and you spam ult to give Herda energy and stacks for her, and that's pretty much just how you play her. She really doesn't do anything else. She does inflict shock, so if you need a debuff on them for whatever reason, that helps, I guess. She doesn't do the most crazy damage, and her Eidolons, I don't think they're that crazy from last time I looked. This one is the big one, E2, but everything else is just shock and more damage, right? Yeah, it's the E2 that is going to be the good one. Each time Serval's talent is triggered to deal extra damage, you generate 4 energy. This will help you spam your ult even more. Funny enough, it's another Pela situation where Serval is free, and then you get this one here, and then you still need to get one dupe somewhere. So that's kind of funny that that happened twice, right? But let me pull up Serval's talent real quick for you guys. After Serval attacks, deals additional lightning damage to all shocked enemies, right? So you just attack, you get the extra energy. The talent's triggered, you get 4 energy, you're good to go, right? I use Serval on my main account, and she works really well with Herda, right? So well that if Anoxa isn't like the craziest thing on the planet, I'm probably just going to skip him, right? Because he's the next Erudition character to come up. Another good Erudition character I know people are using is Argenti, right? Same concept, you just spam attacks over and over to help with Herda. But Serval is still such a good option that, you know, would you really want to summon for Argenti just for what the Serval does? The Serval. Anyway, what Serval does for the Herda, anyway, right? But realistically, for these 4 characters, it's if you really like Qingque and you have her maxed, right? Pela, best general use. Serval is for the Herda, and Asta is for dot and break teams, as long as you don't have your own Mei. Other than that, you might as well just grab a free single if you have Pela E6 and you don't run these other teams, or you have other options built. Just get the free single, right? The real only big W for these is really just Moe's and Gallagher at this point because they're the newest and they have a lot of value to them. But otherwise, these characters are so old, you probably have them max or higher enough dupes to where it doesn't really matter if you get a dupe, especially Pela. Like, are you really gonna want the extra damage dealt in E6, right? Unless you're a collector and you just want to get them all E6, then I understand, right? I did the same exact thing. But other than that, that'll pretty much be it for the video. Let me know what you guys think of the event. I have not hopped into it myself. I don't really know what to expect for it. Hopefully, it's not too long. Mostly just because I'm trying to grind up for Tribby still. Been a little busy. But anyways, Let me know what 4-star you pick in the comments. Let me know what your favorite 4-star out of this bunch is. Who you used the most, if you used them at all. And I will catch y'all in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. I'll catch y'all in the next one, though.